I made it a personal goal to get in front of people, because the more I do this, the more I can show the rest of the people saying, hey, I can do it too. If she did it, I can do it too. And share the resources, share the lessons learned. So exposure, I think that's the key.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to life. Welcome to Innovation City.
Welcome to Innovation City, a podcast featuring the innovators, disruptors, and creators who are making things happen. My name is Michael T. Johnson, and I'm here with my co-host, Tyler Kelly. Tonight, we're at Venture Cafe St. Louis. Venture Cafe is the largest gathering of entrepreneurs anywhere in the world. So on a Thursday night, if you're near a Venture Cafe city, there will be hundreds, potentially thousands in that city of innovators and entrepreneurs gathering, networking, exchanging ideas and all kinds of things. So I suggest you check it out. You're going to love it. Now tonight we have Lusnail Haberberger with us. Luz, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Michael, for having me, and thank you, Tyler, for the invitation. And thank you for introducing me to this community. I was surprised. I did not know anything about it, so thank you.
You're welcome. Luz is a Venezuelan-born American with degrees from the University of Texas, California State University, and UCLA, all in and around engineering. You started an engineering firm called LUZCO Technologies, which is a top-notch engineering firm that values diversity and work-life balance. And you have a boutique approach working with companies like Ameren.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So first off, tell us more about that dream of starting that company. So take us back to the story of how all that started, back to like when that dream was just a thought.
So funny how I became an engineer. I was 16 when I had my first cell phone. And, back in the day, that was not usual. It's not like now that you get a phone when you're 7. And I came from a family where both of my parents are engineers. So it was kind of like normal to be an engineer. But I'm like, what kind of engineer would I be? So I was curious about how cell phones worked. And I'm like, what engineering degree or studies will tell me the answer on how cell phones worked? And at that time, there wasn't a field called telecommunications engineer. There was just only electrical engineering. So I picked electrical engineering. So that's how I became an engineer. And later on, I've worked all my life as an engineer for electrical utilities in the telecommunication arena. And being a minority, not only because of my ethnicity, but also my gender, it presented a struggle. It's a field highly dominated by men, and I felt like I always had to prove myself constantly. And, I got tired of it. And I have 2 sons. And then another struggle came, which was, how do I prove my supervisors that I can be an excellent mother while being the excellent engineer that I've always been? And I always felt like I was being challenged or tested. And I got fed up and said, you know what? I'm going to do this on my own. And the timing was right. I think the corporate America is changing. Everybody is valuing the diversity in thoughts. And with that comes innovation. So I was like, you know what? I can be doing exactly the same thing I'm doing on my own, at my own time, be able to shuffle being with the boys and doing engineering. And that's how LUZCO was born.
So you mentioned both your parents were engineers. Were they like the same kind of engineer, or were they like different fields?
Both of them were petroleum engineers.
Okay, so yeah. So how did you choose the field that you went into then? Electrical
cell phones. Yeah. I wanted to find out how cell phones work.
Did you ever find that out?
Yes, I did.
Is it something that you can tell us in 30 seconds, or is it way too complicated?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so voice, everything travels in wavelengths and we don't see it. So that's basically how it works with the towers.
So you talked about the challenge of like having to prove yourself over and over because of your gender and your ethnicity. When you start a company, does that create a new challenge of proving yourself in a different way?
Yes, absolutely. But at the same time, right now, because there is a drive set by the Public Service Commission and the government on increasing diversity goals, I think that's actually helping companies like myself. Like Ameren, for example, or other utilities are looking for that win-win situation where they know they can get a high-quality product from a diverse firm. So that's why for me it was like, no, it was perfect. It was a win-win. It's like, hey, I can do the work, and I'm a woman, and I'm a Latina.
So where did you start? Like once you had the idea to start your company, and day one you're starting your company, tell us what happened.
It took me about 2 years. I mean, from the time where I was like, this is it, I'm fed up, I want to do this on my own. Then I started researching, like, how do I even do this? Approaching mentors, finding out what even the billing process would look like or the deliverables. So I had the privilege to work for another consulting firm here in St. Louis, doing consulting work for Ameren. And Ameren has been incredible. They have a very strong diversity program that actually it's meant exactly for that, is to mentor women business-owned enterprises or minority business enterprises or veteran business enterprises. So I approached them and said, hey, I have this idea. Would it be crazy? Would you guys support me? And they immediately said, absolutely. You know, we have seen your product. We have seen what you can do. And we're actually looking for more diverse vendors. So
like for the listening and viewing audience, like when we think of engineering, like there's so much that falls under in that umbrella. Tell us about like your products and services and how they are relevant to a company like Ameren.
Yeah, so the way I look at it, I mean, we're able right now to speak with these microphones or the lights because of companies like Ameren. Ameren provides electricity to the houses, to the buildings, to hospitals. And companies like myself that are service-oriented companies, we provide the design or owners consulting. So, for example, if they want to install a new line to connect to places with that electricity, that wire, our engineers will actually come in and determine the path, determine the cable, determine the poles that the cable is going to lay on.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, once you started your company, so you talked about like being a good engineer, proving yourself as an engineer.
Yes.
But being a good engineer is probably a lot different than being a good founder of a company.
Yes.
So tell us about that. Like how did that grow and stretch you moving from good engineer to like good founder of a company?
You are absolutely right. And I was not a good founder of a company, and I had to learn a lot. I mean, there's so much behind the scenes that we take for granted when we work for a big corporation. So yes, I could do the work, I could do the product that the Ameren wanted or my clients want, but I did not know anything about HR regulations or IT or accounting or, you know, you can name it. Anything that is back office operations, I had no idea. So it took a lot. It was a steep learning curve. And then we grew. I started this by myself. I was the only one working at LUZCO. That was June 2017, and we have grown since then to now to be 18. And I'm recruiting for 2 more. So, but yeah, so it's a rapid growth. But with rapid growth, then of course you have more headaches. Then now you need a handbook. Really, I need rules and regulations.
So 18 people looking for 2 more people. Finding good people is probably a challenge.
That is the biggest challenge I've had. I mean, and we talked about back office operation, but there are a lot of service providers out there that are willing to help small businesses or even local organizations here in St. Louis. So you can find those solutions. But yeah, finding people, where do you find them? And then people that fit with your company, not only from a skilled technical level, but also culturally, that actually believe in the dream, believe in the vision, and want to grow this with you. That's the hard part.
So tell us some of those experiences and challenges just in kind of building a culture. I mean, it's been a pretty rapid growth from 1 to 18 over like a year or so.
Yeah, 18 months.
Yeah. So tell me about how during that rapid growth period you maintain like a healthy culture.
Yeah. So I will say month 4 or 5, I got introduced to a wonderful lady. Her name is Martha Campbell through the Hispanic Chamber. and she does communication consulting. And so I came across her, and I was very fascinated the way that she was presenting communication and cultural communication, because what I say, it's not what you hear necessarily. And so she spoke to me right away, and I was like, you know what? I would love for you to come and talk to my people, and then help us kind of like become a family, and because that's the culture that I want. And she did. She spent about 3 months with me. We did retreats with the team as we grew, and then we're about to do another one with her also, just to maintain that values.
So you're talking about culture of your company, building culture in your company, and when we first started, you talked about that dream of like a couple things that are important to you: work-life balance and kind of the way people are treated and things like that. Mm-hmm. Tell us how you build that culture into your company, and like what really is your end goal for that culture.
So with her, we work together as a team to kind of develop the purpose, the mission, and the vision of LUZCO. So it wasn't no longer about what Lusnail Haberberger wanted, but what LUZCO and the team wanted to see the company. And we all decided we wanted to break stigmas, to bring down barriers, to show that, hey, we're not getting the work because we are woman-owned, or we're not getting the work because we're minority-owned. We're getting the work because we're good at what we do, and we're becoming a model to other people who want to do the same thing. So that's our end goal. And how we're doing that, we have monthly meetings where we just talk about that. We all brainstorm together and be like, are we achieving what we want? What can we do differently? How do we walk the talk, right? How do we hire more people that look like the owner? Or how do we reach out to the community to look for those kind of people also?
So as you grow, let's think like a few years in advance, like 5 years from now. What's the vision for LUZCO?
Established, well known for our quality. People actually want to work at LUZCO because of the work-life balance that we provide. We don't believe in home and work. We do it together. For example, as I said, I'm the mother of 2 young children, ages 5 and 6, Jose and Luca. And on Fridays when I'm at work doing stuff, so they come to the office and they sit in the conference room, eat popcorn, and watch TV while the rest of us are working. But with that, I'm not setting an example. I'm setting an example for the rest of the people that it is okay. Sometimes companies say that they're flexible, that they value work-life balance, but then the leadership doesn't do it. So what kind of message are you sending your employees when you don't do it yourself? And after I did it a couple of times, now other people in the company have done the same thing. And they're more productive. They want to work for you. So that's where I see 5 years down the road is people, we're established, people know us, people want to work for LUZCO and with LUZCO and build something.
It's interesting you're talking about that too, because then you kind of start to create a track record of those small things that give people permission to do those things in your company as well, like the kid example.
Yeah.
What other things like that do you want to see in your company?
Diversity of background also. There's another stigma that all engineering companies only hire engineers. Well, that's not true, right? We need the diversity in the kind of thought is what creates innovation. So if only engineers work for an engineering company, we're all going to produce almost the same thing. So, I concentrate on that, on believing that I can create leaders, not necessarily that have the same background as I do.
Now, you mentioned some of the resources that the Hispanic Chamber has been able to connect you with, and just some of the resources just in St. Louis in general. Let's talk about that, just like St. Louis as an ecosystem for entrepreneurs and new businesses. What's your experience been like?
It has been amazing, and I wish that I knew about the amount of support that the city has before I launched LUZCO. Because of what we said, that yes, I was a good project manager, a good engineer, but not necessarily a good founder or back office operation leader. So I made mistakes along the way, and I wish that I knew the kind of resources that the city had to offer for free before I launched the company.
So what kind of things did you find out they're offering that you think would be a help to yourself or a company like yours?
Yeah, so the Hispanic Chamber, you don't have to be Hispanic one to join them. But they have, if they don't know the answers, they will connect you with people who volunteer with them. But the St. Louis Regional Chamber, that's another great resource. There is, this one that I didn't know of. That's a perfect example, right? It's like, I feel like there's so much out there that people like me that have an idea they might not know of.
Yeah, and you just kind of go head down with your idea and not realize that there's people out there that want to help push your idea forward as well.
Exactly.
So with everything you're trying to accomplish, I mean, not just like doing the engineering work, but to talk about like diversity of thought, diversity of ethnicity and gender and things like that. How do we as a community help in all those goals, like as a shared community? What can we do to help those things become better, come forth in the community as a whole?
Exposure. And I think that's why I made it a personal goal to get in front of people. Because the more I do this, the more I can show the rest of the people saying, hey, I can do it too. If she did it, I can do it too. And share the resources, share the lessons learned. So exposure, I think that's the key.
So you talked about lessons learned. So if there's somebody out there listening to this podcast and they have an idea or they want to start a business or they're in the same situation that you were in before you started what you did, what advice would you give to them?
Find mentors that believe in them, which actually that can be hard. I think that's another challenge, right? It's how do you know you're talking to the right people? Many people will say, no, you're crazy. I mean, you just have a baby. Or, no, you're crazy. You have a good job. Are you sure you want to leave that stability? So it's navigating, finding the right person that is willing to listen and then connect you to others who have done the same. Again, I think the main resources will be like the chambers or the SBA, Small Business Association. They have an office here in St. Louis also, and they're willing to share all the resources they have for free.
So for the listening and viewing audience, how can they connect with, get in touch, maybe if they're an engineer or related, they can apply for a position. How can they get in touch with LUZCO Technologies?
They can email me at info@luzcotechllc.com or call 314-339-7072.
Awesome. Well, Luz, it's been an awesome episode and learning about your company and your journey. Thanks for sharing, and I think it's going to help some people that also want to pursue the same kind of thing. So we appreciate you, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Tyler.
For more episodes, visit innovationcity.co. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. And if you're in St. Louis, visit us on a Thursday night. Details at vincafstl.org. And connect with us on social at We Are Slam or at Venture Cafe STL. Thanks for listening.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams